This is Tuesday, June 13th. There are 36 days until San Diego Comic-Con 2023. Welcome to SDConCast, the official podcast of the San Diego Comic-Con unofficial blog.
VANUHTEE go. Oh my God, I love Live Journal and my Live Journal wants me. Current food is hyperactive, current music, Refuge 73. I love the color scheme, it's pink and purple, it looks sweet.
Well, hello, everybody. I am your host, James Riley, and joining me on the podcast, as always, Carrie Dixon.
Hey, guys. Thank you so much for joining us.
And joining us from the blog, also, Erin Tapkin.
Hi, everybody.
And our special guest this evening, joining us, the Director of Sales and Marketing for the Marriott Marquis San Diego Marina, Dan Shaughnessy.
Good evening, all.
All right. So, welcome everyone to the Ides-ish of June. We'll be taking your comments and questions during the show. You can tweet us at SD_comic_con or use the hashtag SDConCast. We will also be keeping an eye on the YouTube live chat if you want to comment there. But first up, let's talk to Dan. Carrie, why don't you get us started?
So, Dan, why don't we start off with you just telling us a little bit about your role at the Marriott and what it is that you do there?
Sure. Yeah, I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing at the hotel, so I have multiple responsibilities with that. One is I'm in charge of our group sales team, which is a team of about 15 people that book all the meetings and groups and conventions, everything from, a small 10-person meeting all the way up to, 1,000 attendee conventions and everything in between, from weddings to, social events, corporate meetings, association meetings, all that stuff. And then my other hat is I'm in charge of all the marketing in the hotel, online, website, print collateral, all the branding around the hotel, and everything else, social media that you could imagine, PR that falls under marketing. So those are my primary responsibilities.
So before the show, you were actually just telling us that you have a pretty cool connection to something, a little bit fandom-y. And what might that be?
Oh, yeah, my mother was Eileen Woods, who's the original voice of Cinderella, the 1951 original Cinderella. And she was both the talking voice as well as the singing voice. A lot of the very well-known songs from the original movie, like Dream is What Your Heart Makes and Someday My Prince Will Come. That's her. So a lot of people have anointed me as Sunderella.
I'm sure that's never gotten old.
No.
You are also a bit of a collector, you were telling us. So you're kind of a fan as well, it sounds like.
I am. Yeah, I'm a massive fan. I've been collecting comics since I was a little boy, and as well as, Star Wars Kenner dolls and all the other toys that came out, in kind of the late 70s and early 80s. And yeah, I have. I've continued to collect and sell and et cetera throughout the years. So yeah, I'm a huge fan.
So that makes it sound like running a hotel or being part of a hotel team during Comic-Con is kind of a fun thing. So
Yes.
What is that like, for the hotel team? What is it like being at Comic-Con or being a part of Comic-Con?
It's amazing. Really, obviously I'm a little biased being such a big fan, but I can also tell you, our, 900 plus associates just love this time every year when it comes around. And, we prepare months and months and months in advance. And yeah, everybody just gets very excited about it. It's obviously been coming to San Diego for so long. So there's a nostalgia component for a lot of people. And a lot of our hosts have been here for many, many years. The average tenure of our host is about 14 years, if you can believe that. So again, a lot of long relationships, and it's just a special time in the hotel to be part of it in any way.
Last year, we actually had the folks at the Hilton Bayfront on, and they told us that they do team skits every year before Comic-Con, basically to get everybody hyped. Are there any fun traditions that the Marriott has around Comic-Con?
Sure. Yeah. We don't do skits. That's a fun idea, but really, I think the biggest thing we do is, we obviously are talking it up, but long before it gets here, there's a lot of internal communications. And as I mentioned, we're preparing, months and months in advance. We have weekly meetings with every department leader, leading up to the event, just so we can kind of review trends from last year and then see what we can do to improve on the attendee experience and make it better each year. So I think it's just really for us, it's the transformation that happens leading up to it. We're working on it for so long that everybody is all in. And we try and offer really unique experiences, like with fun, theme grab and go food options. We call, Comic-Con sessions where people can, get delicious burgers or hot dogs or pizzas or breakfast sandwiches. And of course, our ever popular, handcrafted cocktails or zero proof beverages. But I think the fun thing that I like is, that week when it's really going on, we encourage our hosts to dress up in their favorite Comic-Con attire. So that way, we make the event fun for everyone, both the attendees and our hosts. So we do let them do that. Usually it's kind of, their favorite comic t-shirts and stuff. We don't go full costume gear, but that gets everybody in the mood. It just makes it really fun.
So it sounds like you almost have to plan or recover from Comic-Con year round. It sounds like it just lasts a long time, but the convention center is one of the busiest in the country. So how do you deal with Comic-Con, but also how is Comic-Con different than all those other ones that maybe don't require quite the level of effort that Comic-Con does?
Yeah, that's a great question. You're right. We have tons of large conventions that, come through the convention center, which we're adjacent to every year. But, it's just the makeup of Comic-Con. It's a very different, segment, if you will, of attendees and what the convention stands for. It has a long history again in San Diego, which a few of our other conventions do, but certainly not the history that Comic-Con has. So it's just, it's a special time. Almost feels like kind of a convention holiday for us, if you will. It's just, again, what happens with the activations in the hotel and allowing our hosts to, kind of take part in their own way by dressing up. It's just different. I can tell you one thing we always talk about. You say recover, and that's definitely fair from maybe an operational standpoint, but the attendees at Comic-Con are just fantastic. They really are. We always say that every year. They're just the nicest people. Everybody's so happy to be here. And, it's a little more of, I think, a personal venture for people, even though there is a professional component to it as well. But that's a little bit different than a lot of, let's say, the professional conventions that come through here, whether it be, medical or tech or other, sort of large service organizations. So it just, all around the whole city feels that it's up and down the entire convention way here, and it's just a ton of fun.
And while other conventions sort of come and go from San Diego, and they only use the hotel space, like on your property, Comic-Con is using a lot of space. They've had the Bandai set up on the back terrace. Your exterior gets wrapped. There are panels there and other things like that. How involved are you guys in those takeovers and those other things that are happening besides just having your rooms being filled?
Yeah, that's a great question. I touched on it earlier as far as how we, try and activate the hotel where we can through our operations, by creating some fun things for the attendees that are going to be in-house, with, again, our restaurant outlets and bars that we can kind of control. And then everything else we do have a hand in, certainly the branding that goes on the building. That's obviously, we're involved in that as far as what's going on the building and where it's going. And we obviously work with an outside agency that does all of those clings, but really every part that sort of touches the hotel, we are involved with. And you mentioned Bandai as well. That's obviously a huge installation at the hotel was last year, and we're looking forward to it again this year. I can tell you more about that, if you'd like. But that's really it. It's just as much as we can do to really just pull the theme throughout the whole hotel. And again, we've been doing it for years, and yet, as Mr. Marriott said, it's always more, and we can always be better. So that's why, every year we're just planning again months in advance and looking at our notes from last year to just try and keep improving the attendee experience and make it, as awesome as we can every single year.
So this may not be your department, but I do have a question. One of probably the biggest complaints or issues this year is that, at least from an attendee standpoint, it certainly feels like there are fewer rooms in the room block, not just at the Marriott, but just like overall. Through CCI and On Peak, which is the main Comic-Con room block. Do you know if they lowered the amount of rooms? Are you aware of anything about that?
Yeah, I'm not, frankly. I mean, all I can really speak to is our hotel, and we have not. I mean, we have a long-term agreement with Comic-Con, and there's no change in the inventory that we provide to them. I know, in speaking with On Peak early, it was like gangbusters the minute it opened. So I don't know if it's just pent-up demand and it makes it seem like the inventory dissipates quicker, or if there truly, to your point, is less inventory out there. But I've not heard anything in the market, at least, let's say, with my peers, of anybody lowering their blocks, the room blocks, I should say, with Comic-Con or anything to that effect. So I don't know if it's just supply and demand makes it feel that way, but again, I can really only speak to my hotel, and absolutely not. We are providing the same number of rooms that we have every single year.
And you guys are like fully booked during con all the time, like always, right?
Oh yeah.
Yes. Is that normal for you guys? Like, do you spend, is 90% of your year fully booked, or?
Yeah, I mean, this hotel, I mean, not 90%, but I mean, if you think about it, we're a 1,366 room hotel, and that's a massive hotel. And like this year, we're probably going to run about 82% full on the year. So if you think about that, that literally means 365 days of the year, we're 82% full, but that's not the case because you obviously have holidays or you have gaps when you don't have conventions. But yeah, this is an extremely busy hotel. I mean, June and July, we're going to run over 90% occupancy. So this hotel is a very, very busy hotel.
I feel like a lot of people may not necessarily understand like how the room block with Comic-Con even necessarily works. Are you able to speak at all about that? I mean, even just like broad strokes.
Yeah, well, can you just clarify your question, I guess, maybe a little bit for me?
Yeah, I mean, just like, I think people may not understand, that like Comic-Con works with and the tourism authority work with the hotels, to offer up rooms, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not like top secret information. I mean, we signed a contract with Comic-Con, offering them really the majority of our rooms, and like we do with any convention or even a midsize or smaller program, like I said, that my sales team books, it's just a contract we execute against a certain number of rooms that we provide to them, and space that they need and other things in the hotel that we offer, and we just enter into that agreement, and we sign it years in advance, as you can imagine, so they can secure what they need to make the convention successful, and that's really it. And then On Peak, to your point, has that inventory, and they handle all the housing for Comic-Con.
Yep.
And that's really it. It's not more complicated than that, to be honest with you. It's we negotiate the contracts with them, and once that's done, then it really is in On Peak's hands. And then once that's all done, then we obviously work with the different affiliates or production companies or studios that need to come in and activate the hotel or use space, et cetera, et cetera. And then our sort of service team or event management team will then handle those.
Absolutely. Well, like I said, I just think a lot of people don't even know any of that. But there's always something to do at the Marriott, and the SDCC Gaming Lounge is there every year. But in addition, you guys have a pretty cool new offering, which is you've got 3 new Top Golf swing suites.
Yeah, we do. They opened, kind of April of last year. So they just kind of hit their first year anniversary. And yeah, they're in our Bayside Lounge, which is, kind of at the back side of our restaurant. It has beautiful 180-degree views of the bay, and as you mentioned, yeah, there's 3 swing suites in there, which offer a lot more than golf. They have every kind of sporting game you could think of. They also have zombie dodgeball, but you can throw a football, a baseball, kick a soccer ball, play hockey, and of course you can play any golf course in the world if that's your thing. But they also have carnival games, and then it's also a lounge where you can order food and beverage while you're enjoying those those games and just having fun. So yeah, we're pretty excited about that space, and we continue to add. It's only been open about a year, but we have other plans to keep, sort of expanding that space and make it just a really fun activation hotel as well, and just offering for our guests if they can't find other places.
And I looked it up earlier, the Top Golf Swing Suites, you can reserve them. It looks like Thursday through Saturday at the convention, and it's $75 per guest if anybody's interested in that.
You've done your homework. That sounds correct. Yeah, it's just like a bowling lane. You just go in there and rent it as long as you want, and then
Yep.
yeah, and it's also available. Groups can rent it out too. We do sell it. We'll do a buyout if a group wants to do that. If they want to, host a reception or whatever in there, and then we'll activate the bays, and they can have a really fun kind of different experience for their reception or function that they like.
Well, I'd like to ask about my favorite topic, which is food. And if you could tell us about any of the dining options at the Marriott, or what you might be offering during Comic-Con.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we have 6 different dining outlets in the hotel. We have our Marina kitchen, which is sort of our main, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Has a wonderful breakfast buffet every morning. We also have the Exchange, which is like a marketplace, kind of more grab and go, if you will. And they also have a lot of delicious breakfast options. Think breakfast burritos, breakfast sandwiches, and then they transition into sort of grab and go sandwiches, flatbreads, salads, things like that in the afternoon and evening. And then out at the pool, which, we have the largest pool in downtown San Diego. So it's a really neat kind of resort style vibe out there. We have the Tequila Bar and Grill, has over 60 different tequilas and just delicious, tacos and that kind of fare. And then of course we have a full service Starbucks that people, definitely line up for. And then I mentioned the Bayside Lounge, where you can go out and have food and beverage as well out there. So yeah, there's just a variety. We also open an M Club Lounge for people that want to buy into that. It's usually not open on the weekends. We're still debating that over Comic-Con if we might open it, but that's a place where people can also get food and beverage if they buy into that club, which is just an extra fee on top of your guest room if you want to enjoy that amenity. So yeah, quite a few options around the hotel.
And do you?
Oh, go ahead, Carrie.
I was just going to ask, do you guys normally extend the hours of those options during Comic-Con, or any of those options?
Sometimes we do. Yeah. I mean, I haven't been in on the meetings, to see what they've landed on yet. I know they're still, kind of tinkering with some things, but yeah, they definitely do if the demand is there. That's really what it all comes down to. If everybody's gonna be over at the convention center, it does make sense for us to keep outlets open during those hours per se, or extra hours. But yeah, if they see the demand, which we have good history on, then they will. But I just don't know what those details are right now.
So I heard mention earlier of a luxury vending machine. What is that? And where can we find it?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's going to be right down to the wire if we'll have them open in time for Comic-Con. It's going to be really close because they're due to install next month. So yeah, we just had a space that was kind of going unused, and it was a perfect spot to do something different, and we just thought it would be really fun to have that offering. We've seen it in some other places. I think we've all seen it, in airports and other places where they just have these amazing vending machines offering things you never thought would come out of a vending machine. So yeah, we're looking at 3 or 4 different machines we're going to put in this space. One will be a champagne machine that we're going to put in there, so you can literally buy a token and go up and get yourself a small split of champagne. We're also looking at a cosmetic line that we'll put a vending machine for. And then we're also looking at probably some type of iStore as well, which again, you see those a lot in airports or even malls. And then we have a 4th one we're looking at, which is, sort of a high-end suites, if you will. But again, some of those aren't done yet, so I can't speak to the brands just yet. But yeah, we've signed, I think, 3 out of 4, and we're just trying to secure the 4th. And then, yeah, they should be here, hopefully within the next 30 days is what we're counting on. But we'll see. If not, they'll definitely be here, shortly. I'd say the next few months if they're not here before Comic.
Well, I look forward to checking those out. My brain was going right to like, are they going to have like cups full of caviar and like you know, like you get a beautiful shrimp cocktail coming right out of the vending machine. But
Yeah,
this is
no,
that sounds much classier than what was going on in my head.
yeah, no, it's true. And I mean, and we thought of a lot of things, but some of the challenge sometimes is, obviously you have to replenish and make sure the products are fresh. So that's why we thought a couple retail items would be a little safer. And then we will obviously have, a couple, higher end food and beverage options. And again, it's just to have something fun and whimsical. It's, you can buy those things other places, but, for people that are here and would like the convenience of buying something, kind of fun to enhance their stay when they're here, we like to have those offerings.
I think that's a great idea.
Thank you.
What do you what do you think you and your staff, what would you guys like San Diego Comic-Con attendees to know about your property that they might not know?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, for me, it's not really the brick and mortar and all the beautiful facilities we have, because we do. I mean, we just finished, a 2-year, massive rooms and suites renovations. So all the rooms products are fresh and brand new and are just lovely. And obviously our views are beautiful. We were the first hotel ever built in 1984 before the convention center or anything else that's around here now. So we had the most balconies of any hotel, because I think after our first building, I don't know the exact history, but then balconies weren't allowed. So that is a big advantage at our hotel. I would tell attendees that they may not know, if they're looking to stay on the bay, our hotel hands down has the most balcony rooms you're going to find of any of the hotels. But for me, I mean, I think it's really our staff. I know that, it sounds a bit cliche, but as I mentioned earlier, our average tenure of associate here is 14 years, and we have over 200 hosts that have over 25 years with the company. And, they all just have such a warm heart for hospitality and such an incredible spirit to serve that's what I would tell people, because when they walk away from here, their experience is going to be amazing. And it's because of, all the hosts that want to just deliver on that promise of welcoming them into our coastal home here.
We've had a couple of reader questions that I would like to get to.
Okay.
Shannon Cooper asked, do you get a chance to see much of the convention, or are you working most of it?
Oh, no, I will definitely be seeing it. Yeah, no question about that. I mean, I am, like I said, a huge fan. If you can believe it, I've never been to Comic-Con. I've only been at the hotel for a little less than a couple of years. And unfortunately, I missed it last year, which I was devastated that I wasn't able to make it. But I am, I know I'm on a podcast, but yeah, I will be there. Absolutely, I'm going to be there. Whatever it takes, I'm going to get myself there for sure. I can't wait. I'm super, super excited. It's a great question. I mean, I'll be
Awesome.
working too, but I'm all in this year for sure.
Awesome. Yes, I hope you get to experience some of it.
Thank you.
Sir Lister Smeg asked, do you have any celebrity stories that you can share?
I can't share. Let's just say that. I mean,
That's okay.
The privacy and security of our guests is our,
Yep.
is our number one thing, as you can imagine. And yeah, we would never reveal that. But I have plenty from
Totally fine.
previous times in Hollywood. But no, I wouldn't say I have a big one here just yet. So maybe this year.
Maybe this year, yes. Committed Comics asked a question. Has the closure of Harbor Drive during the convention posed any additional challenges for the hotel?
Not really. I mean, we obviously have to communicate those things again to all of our associates that are coming and going from the hotel, but our team here does a fantastic job getting that out well in advance so they can, make alternate transportation arrangements. And usually we have options for them too if they can't get here under their normal sort of routine. But no, it happens a lot throughout the year, not just during Comic-Con. They will close Harbor quite a bit. Rock and Roll Marathon just happened. They'll do it, during certain special events in the city. So we're pretty used to it, and again, pretty well-oiled machine when those things happen to make sure we take care of our associates and all of our guests.
Sir Lister Smeg also asks, can you buy into that, meaning the M Lounge and the Top Golf swings, if you aren't staying at the hotel?
Boy, that's a great question. You can't buy into the M Club because you do need to be a guest in the hotel and have a guest room. But it doesn't. The nice thing about the M Club is it's sort of the new version of the old concierge lounge, which usually was on a floor and you had to have a concierge room to go to the lounge. But now you could have a room anywhere in the hotel under any rate plan, and you can just pay the additional money to have the M Club access. Topgolf, absolutely open to the public. It's a public facility. You can just rent your bay. You can actually do it online through our website under our experiences tab. You can get to the Topgolf page that will take you to the real-time reservations where you can book your bay rental, and then you're welcome to just wander on into the hotel, find Topgolf, and swing away.
And then Karen Session asked, do you have to bring in more staff during the week of Comic-Con?
I mean, I guess yes would be the quick answer. Just like any busy time in the hotel, we don't have to outsource if that's sort of the line of the question, or bring in, temp staffing or anything like that. We have enough associates here to service the hotel during the convention. But yeah, we'll be, all hands on deck for sure during Comic-Con, like we are a lot during the year when we have these full house conventions in town.
Makes total sense. Well, Dan, is there anything else that you want to make sure that we mention about the Marriott to our listeners?
No, not really. I mean, thank you so much for the time and the opportunity to speak with you all. And no, just thank you again. We appreciate it, and look forward to maybe seeing all of you pretty soon here. It's coming up quick. So thanks.
It is. Yeah, 36
Easy
days.
for us.
Crazy.
Well,
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Dan, and hopefully we'll get to see you around the hotel or, inside the convention somewhere. But thank you again so much for joining us.
yeah, my pleasure. Thanks, Gary. Thanks, Aaron. Thanks, James.
Thank you.
Dan,
Have a great evening.
you too. All right.
All right.
What's next?
Yep.
love
Another
hearing-
guest.
I know, but I will say one thing. I'll try to keep it short. I feel like I was talking to him. I feel like they really value like the Comic-Con attendees. Like sometimes I worry that some of the places locally like kind of roll their eyes at Comic-Con attendees, or just like, oh, Comic-Con attendees are so difficult. But like, yeah, I totally get the feeling that they really appreciate us there. I like that feeling.
Not to bring up old wounds, but it's not a Geeks Be Gone party.
Right, exactly. They would welcome us with open arms.
Yes, totally. Yeah, it's always nice like to hear from the vendors and the hotels and just the local folks who get it and who appreciate it. It's definitely always really nice.
All right.
So
next up, we have an interview with Paul Cornell and Tom Peyer that we recorded a couple of weeks ago because we were not going to make him stay awake and do an interview at 2:30 in the morning his time, because Paul is in Britain. This is pre-recorded, so we're going to let it run. Hopefully everything works just fine. And we will be paying attention to the chat. We'll be keeping an eye there. Otherwise, we'll see you back here in a little over half an hour live again. So give me a second here while I'm finding it and opening it and playing it.
first off, Paul, welcome to the show, and thank you so much for joining us. You are, to our audience, probably primarily known for your work on Doctor Who, which includes writing episodes like Father's Day and Human Nature, as well as Doctor Who novels and comics. But we're mostly here today to talk about Con and On, which is your upcoming graphic novel. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, Con and On is the story, and this is the reason I'm here, of about 3 decades in the life of a completely fictional, enormous comics event. I'm not even sure I can say the word convention event, which is in an enormous convention center on the side of a bay in a town called Vista Al Mar. And it's my attempt to do a Robert Altman movie. It's a big cast. There's 5 issues, and each issue we hop ahead quite a few years. So it's how the industry changes, it's how these individuals change across about 30 years at this completely fictitious comics event. And it's because Ahoy love comedy, it's a satire. It's got a heart, it's got a lot to say, but there's a lot of comedy along the way, and a lot of dark comedy and Yeah, it's basically how some things in the industry have changed a lot, and some things have not damn well changed at all.
So, as you mentioned, you've been in comics for a long time. A lot of the things that have gone on over the years. You've also attended a lot of real conventions. How true to life are some of the events in the story?
Well, there's a ton of real anecdote in here. I actually appear in one of the later issues because I thought I could put this thing that happened to me into one of my characters, but I could just do it, couldn't I? I could be there myself. Which is about the time I went to the Cat Cafe for a meeting and just ballooned into an enormous bubble of redness and spent the rest of the evening weeping out of every pore. But it's anecdotes. It's there's an awful lot of real stuff I've either heard from other people or has happened to me, and you know, that's kind of woven into the fabric of it. As well as following our major characters, we have Eddie and Deja, who are kids in the first issue, you know, young creators just out of the box, and what happens to their careers, success and failure across the next 30 years as they become comicers. And success and failure is really important in this. I mean, I love, there's nothing more interesting and dramatic than failure. And I've experienced a lot of it, so I know of what I speak. And there's 3 British comics creators, who I believe between them basically cover just about the whole spectrum of that British wave of comics creators, the male ones. They are called Anthony, Don, and Finn. Anthony is a cosmic explorer. Don is a dapper gentleman in a suit, a bit of a mod, and Finn is a wild man who uses a certain approximation of a swear word as his only word in the comic for the first 3 or 4 issues. And I think that covers everyone. I do have a line in one issue that the phrase drink responsibly was created in response to the first wave of British comics creators coming to America. We follow 2 girls, Jessica and Ashley, from 8 years old through that 30 years as attendees and what they see. And we've got Jeff Kent, the actor, who's a minor actor at the start, hoping to get bigger, and watching the way across those 30 years, because we start in 1992, how this comic convention, this completely fictitious comics event, has changed for film and TV across that time. Because in 1992, the idea of actually having a panel about a TV show at the real San Diego Comic-Con would have been really unusual. And so that Jeff's arc covers that. And we hop out for little one-off pages to show security guards and pedalo people, taxi, what are they called, where you pedal a taxi? Rickshaw pedal cabs-ish.
Pedicabs.
That's it. That does it quickly. I shouldn't be running a pedicab company. I'd call it Rickshaw Pedal Cabs-ish Limited, or Inc. in the States. Anyway, I digress. And so it's a huge picture of what I think is a beautiful, the real San Diego Comic-Con, I think, is a beautiful event. I love it with all my heart. And I love your podcast, and I've been listening to this for ages, and especially reading your blog updates literally every morning when I wake up as the convention approaches, because it's being on the Rialto. It's that wonderful giddy combination of fun and work at once. Fun and work at once. That's the most beautiful thing a freelancer could ever experience. And so yes, that's me in Comic-Con, and it's completely unrelated, fictitious version in Con and On. Haha.
Absolutely.
So how long have you been attending San Diego Comic-Con?
Oh, I've done about 10 of them, but there's been gaps. So I'm not quite sure.
So you've
Do you-
seen your own arc of change. Was that the original idea behind the story? Is that what sparked the idea?
Very much so. I like writing about change over a long time. And I think one of the things I'm doing in this is there's a commentary track. There's a fictitious historian of the future making wry comments in a commentary track as if we all know what happens. So that adds another level of of fun.
So a bit of a knowing narrator, guiding us along.
Yeah. And as I say, there are a lot of my experiences. I'm just answering different questions to the one you ask. I'm sorry. I'm doing my best.
No.
I'm kind of a little boggled to meet you all. These voices I'm familiar with in my ear. Goodness.
You're so kind. Tell us about some of your convention traditions or your favorite things to do when you're there.
Right. Well, there are two people I meet right at the end. One of whom I think I can name. One of whom is Bob Wayne, bless him, who used to do publicity for DC and has retired, and they had to replace him with 7 people. And me and him go to the poolside tiki bar, and we have a meal just before I'm going to get on the plane. Or the boss of Star Wars books, who adores me because I know nothing about Star Wars and can't pitch to her. And my Star Wars books pitch would be like, there are these Star Wars people and they're having some sort of conflict with these other Star Wars people. And so me and her, Jen Heddle, we tend to hang out right at the end as well, and have a cuppa before the end. I need to pace the ground. So I get there. Oh, I have a party for me and mine at a nearby venue on preview night. So we can sort of look out over the hall, and I need to have a look around and get my bearings and wander about town, going ooh at all the new adverts on the buildings for a few hours beforehand. And there's always somebody, and one cannot pick them. There's always somebody you see all the time, a fellow professional, a freelancer, who you just keep running into. You couldn't plan this, and there's somebody you wanted to see a lot who you never see at all. These
that really sums up Comic-Con experiences.
And,
what about you, Tom? Is your experience mostly on a professional basis, or do you also have fun while you're there, some leisure time?
I mostly went many years ago, around the time of the beginning of Con and On, when I was an editor at DC, and they would send me, which, by the way, absolutely spoiled me. Like, it turned me into a monster who won't go to a convention unless someone is paying for it. But particularly one on the other coast. But my main memories of it are very good. It was absolutely wonderful to connect face to face with all these people I was working with and wanted to work with. I mean, that was amazing. I also remember sort of standing by the DC booth as dinner time approaches and seeing people kind of glance at me, wondering if they could get a meal out of me on DC's dime. And that felt a little predatory at times. And of course, there's I also went to UCAC, the UK Comic Book Convention in those days, and the difference between that and San Diego was in San Diego the bars closed at 1, and at UCAC they never did. I mean, if you were in a hotel, I mean, I remember being with all these wonderful freelancers, all of whom are represented by Paul's 3 characters. And it would be, I don't know what time it is, maybe it's getting light, and I just want to cry because it won't stop and I don't want to leave it. I'm just miserable. And
Well,
so
you
that
never want to be the one to be the first to like call it quits. You don't want to
Oh,
be the
no.
first to leave the party.
Right. Well, I was representing America. I couldn't do it. I mean, it was absolute. Paul, you're muted, but I think.
No, I was just making.
No.
No, I was just making gulping motions with my mouth. Sorry.
So, having been to conventions over the years, how important were they to your careers? Did you use them as ways to get jobs, or was it just ways to promote what's already been done for the most part?
Well, I personally, I went because I was very lucky that my work took me there, and I actually started in the '80s going to this show that's still going around. It's the second oldest convention in the country. It's IthaCon in Ithaca, New York, and it's a beautiful, small, modest show that was in the '80s. Well, Roger Stern lives in Ithaca, and he was involved. The great comic book writer Roger Stern, who was my mentor, and he would get all kinds of big comic book stars of the period to come to the show. And it was, I mean, I got to meet Julius Schwartz and Kurt Swan and all these people from my childhood who I adored, But connecting with Roger, that's how my career eventually happened. So I got it directly out of IthaCon. And I went to the latest one last month, and it's still a wonderful institution. And it's the only convention in the world where if you show up with stock to sell, they send valets out to wheel it in for you.
Oh,
Nice.
that's a bonus. You don't have to
That's
schlep your own stuff, huh?
Never.
Very
That-
nice.
Wow.
That's something else I always do at San Diego. Actually, I always go find the classic guys, and I've had lunch with Wine and Wolfman, with Jerry Conway. You go and find them because it's necessary to go find them, and a lot of them aren't fated enough. It's not like they're fighting off company, and they would like some company, and I'm delighted to give it to them. So you go find them. And I just thought something else that sorry, your question was, and I will answer your question about work. I usually come back with a lovely little bundle of contacts and actual work. The best ever year was when 2 or 3 things came together, and suddenly I'm getting messages on my phone, and I get a Doctor Who animation project out of all of it, which we didn't quite get there, but we got as far as the production office with Taliesinov Critical Role before he was famous on board. And wow, that was quite a ride, and most of it happened in 2 days at Comic-Con. And another thing I always do, I always go to the Scribe Awards, which are for spin-offery, and they are a teeny tiny awards ceremony in a small panel. And I've been on the panel, I've been nominated for the awards, and afterwards I go and have drinks with Jonathan Maybury, which is always a pleasure. So that's another thing I always do.
So obviously you both have a lot of history with conventions. Paul, what made you decide like this would be a great setting for a new story?
Well, for ages I've been trying to float a murder mystery set at one of the big conventions, and I couldn't place that anywhere. So I thought, well, what if there was no murder? You know what you want to talk about, and what if there was time instead? And I pitched that to Ahoy on the basis that it would be a satire. And Ahoy is just the best home for comedy in comics. And they do lovely comics. There's lots of backups. There's lots of extra stuff. And so an Ahoy comic is always a good gig, a good experience. And I was delighted when they picked it up.
Thanks, Paul.
What were your first thoughts, Tom, when Paul brought the project to you?
Oh, I've been Paul's fan for a long time. I was really glad he brought it to us, and it was just the kind of thing. I mean, it's the perfect Ahoy comic is you can describe it in one sentence, and you've never read a comic like this. And Con and On fits that bill exactly. And also, there's something amusing about it that you can pick up on in that little description, and Con and On fits that bill exactly. And I was just pleased. And you didn't. Well, if I'm remembering right, and I remember nothing right these days, but if I remember right, you didn't like write a huge pitch. It wasn't like every jot and tittle worked out, and I didn't need it. We didn't need it.
It was just a page or so.
Yeah, yeah. I think
one of-
stories are better when you work them out while you're writing them anyway.
One of the things I really enjoyed was creating a whole fictional universes of different comics companies and TV and movie shows that go across the 30 years. And we mentioned lots of real shows as well, if they're not directly involved. But our two big companies, our big two, are Noir Comics and, I can't remember what I called them, Zap Comics. And they're another big two. Marvel and DC do exist in this satirical universe because we are not depicting any real figures associated therein. And it's a satire, so I think I could even. But anyway, and so we kind of keep on building that and doing little detail across the.
You had a bit that was it was a character who really resembled a famous comic book person who actually lived, and they were doing something awful in the story. So I'm like, well, I brought it to our lawyer, and she laughed and she said, "You can't libel the dead."
Well, actually, that should be the name of a new Ahoy title: Libel the Dead. And, Night of the Libeled Dead. They're back, and they want their royalties.
I can see that on a T-shirt. Can't libel the dead.
But actually, the real Jack Kirby is in here as Jack Kirby. He's off panel, and he's a great glowing cosmic presence because one of our kids meets him. But yeah, and of course, he is utterly lovely.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. And this other character I'm alluding to, you can get some. Not only is it a beautiful story about human connection and a funny story and a vast story, but there's also some juicy dirt in it, if you can recognize it.
How do you do all this in 5 issues?
That's what I was wondering.
Cuts, leaps in time, economy, commentary track, does lots of heavy lifting. And this is the point where I'm going, do I do that all in 5 issues? Wow, that sounds difficult. Did I do it? Yeah.
So you mentioned that you picked Ahoy specifically because of the type of publisher they are. What are advantages on working with a smaller independent publisher?
Well, there's a lovely editorial process. They are very very precise, very good notes. And at one point, basically, I had put too much verbiage in one issue, and Tom went through and fitted stuff into the panels, and it's really good work. It's like the meaning is entirely kept. And we ought to mention Marika Cresta, our wonderful artist on this.
Yeah.
She's done an amazing job of capturing the settings, especially like what a all-night queue for Hall H looks like, and what the early dealers' rooms looked like, where they're a bit more spaced out, and and what a tiny panel room with somebody asleep in it looks like. Things like that.
Things like that, and her characters are wonderful. I mean, they're really human and the art is just a pleasure to look at.
Yeah. She's
going to be big, I think.
Yeah, I mean, she's already working for Marvel. She's done the Captain Carter and
Dr. Aphra, I think.
Yeah. So delightful to work with, and as you say, her character acting, the character design. The 3 it's like she's met 3 British comic writers.
So I'd like to talk a little bit more about Ahoy. Tom, you co-founded it in 2018, I believe. Can you just tell us a little bit about what the idea behind Ahoy was?
The idea behind Ahoy was, well, Hart Seeley, a retired journalist, and Frank Camuso, a graphic novel artist, like for young readers and stuff, a former editorial cartoonist. We're all in Syracuse, New York. We've been friends for decades. And so it just came a time when Hart in particular, who's our publisher, was just rooting around for something to do, because, the journalism careers end prematurely these days. He got bought out, and same with Frank. And so Frank and I both live and breathe comics and love comics, and Hart knew this. So he thought, well, what if we found the money and started a comic book company? And in our absolute ignorance of how difficult this would be, we just leapt at the chance and went and made some hilarious mistakes and figured out fairly quickly that if you want something done, you should hire someone who knows how to do it. And which I'm very grateful that we were able to do. And so we put out I also have to say, we started this in January 2017. That was when we had our first meeting about it. And something huge was happening in the world that we didn't want to think about. We needed a distraction from it in January 2017, if you get my drift. And
we did.
I think that saved our lives too, is to have something huge, a huge task to distract us from what was happening to the world.
Was there a hole in the independent comics publishing scene that you were sort of hoping to fill? Was there a certain goal you had, or was there something, a lack of a certain kind of comic that you saw that you wanted to fill?
Well, we did. We immediately sort of leapt onto the humor angle. We didn't see anybody doing that, but also, fortunately, it was what we would have wanted to do anyway. We all love funny stuff, and but to this day, I don't think anybody's really leading with humor in the comics market, or the adult comics market anyway. And I'll say that when I was working for the big two, and I was very lucky too, the one thing that I used to wish was that we could make entertaining people as important as keeping to continuity. And it always felt like it sort of took a back seat sometimes. And so our job, we don't care if the comics agree with each other. We would never win that game anyway. The people who are doing it are wonderful at it and completely established. But we just want every page and every panel to entertain you. And we also fill the books up with this back matter. We have short stories in the back with illustrations. And the idea is we just want you for your whole lunch hour. You paid like $4 or $5 for this comic, so we want you to be able to squeeze a lot of juice out of it.
Paul, you've written go ahead, Carrie.
Oh, I was just going to say, Paul, will you remind us, when does Con and On start coming out?
Oh, it comes out on 12th of July, just in time for San Diego. And I don't know, will we be doing things at San Diego, Tom?
I believe so. Yes. Yeah. I believe we got the okay this week for a panel, and an Ahoy Comics panel. And we look forward to having you on it, Paul.
I'm really looking forward to it.
Great.
And Ahoy will have a booth there as well?
No, we're not. I don't believe. No, we're not going to have a booth. We
Okay.
tend to run our booth at smaller shows because we're a small company. We feel like we get kind of lost in big crowds. But we're going to participate in the con, and we got the panel and just chatting people up, and my God, the drinking.
So folks should head to their local comic shop.
Yeah.
on the 12th.
Mhm.
Is that for
12th of
issue number
July.
1, 12th of
Yeah.
July.
And digitally downloadable as well, of course.
Excellent. So I wanted to ask you, Paul, I know that you've written both for television and for comics, and can you tell us a little bit about how the approach to each is how they differ?
Wow, it's an enormous subject. I have to mentally change gears to move between media, and I should write a book, honestly. I mean, rather than doing comics or television, no, they're each about budget, really. About budget of either money or audience attention or page size. And it's about getting the sensation of movement in your head. For instance, I always write my comic scripts in past tense. She's put a glass on the table, because that stops me from writing the worst comic panel of all time, which is he runs out of the door and slams it behind him. Of course, in the 50s, they just have drawn somebody with bush lines and the door halfway open. But or like the two emotion panel was not a problem in the Golden Age. You just have Superman going, "I'm so sad," whoosh, and yet I were happy too, with lines between them. But yeah, there's all sorts of things that one has to keep in mind solidly in comics that are no problem at all in television. You know, people running out of doors and slamming them behind them is par for the course in TV. Indeed, doors in general are a lot easier to deal with on television than they are in comics. I tend to try and stay away from doors in comics.
So what you're saying is you'll never write something like a Monsters Inc. comic or something like that?
Oh, they must deal with doors all the time. Goodness.
So what is on the same note of writing for two different things, what about writing for your own creations versus an IP that you're hired for, like Doctor Who? What are the differences in that aspect?
Well, I really love both. I've just returned to one of my own creations. I wrote 5 books set in the Cotswolds about the witches of Lichford, which is kind of rural fantasy, like urban fantasy in the countryside. And I've just returned to them on Substack to do a paid serial. And I just thought I'd put that blurb in there. There we are. Add a bit of a marketing push. I'm about to move into inflatables, and I will tell you my phone number. Honestly, people who haven't heard the last episode won't get that at all. Sorry. It probably isn't even the last episode when this comes out. Anyway, I really love a lot of IPs, and you know, I kind of try and go find IPs I really want to do. So I keep trying to persuade somebody to let me do John Steed and Emma Peel, but nobody has. Yeah, I mean, I really, really wanted to do a Star Trek, so I got to do the for IDW their Valentine's Day special for Year 5, and I loved doing that. And so there's all sorts of IPs that I sort of knock on the door of and you know, go petitioning. I've done most of them.
That's actually something I wanted to talk to you about. Back in 2008, you did a really fascinating miniseries with Marvel, the Fantastic Four True Story, where you had the heroes through various famous fictional literary realms. And it's such a great take on literature. And if you have time, I'd like to know a little bit about the idea, but you sort of hinted to it that you'd like to do that sort of thing. And if you think we'll ever see anything like it again.
Oh, yes. I mean, I was just thinking of the Fantastic Four as explorers. Where haven't they been? And fiction seemed to be the place they hadn't been. And so I did want there to be a big sort of energy barrier, a Kirby-esque energy barrier at the point of copyright, moving through the centuries, the point where the stories we cannot talk about are beyond that barrier. I'm not sure I was ever allowed to do that, but I was working for the wonderful Tom Brevoort, who's still a mate and lovely editor, lovely man. So I keep knocking on Marvel and DC's door as well, and every now and then, they let me in. So you never know. There's all sorts of Marvel characters I really want to work on, and still I never really got a shot with. And Pete Wisdom keeps beckoning me back. I love my run on Captain Britain, and I miss Pete. And I got to write them again for the secret. I'm blurbing all the time. I've got a Secret Invasion novelization coming out at the end of this year. And so I got to add a little bit more to my Captain Britain, which was a lovely feeling. And so, yeah, sorry.
You had some characters that had their first appearances in the Marvel universe, like Faust and Othello and William Tell, and my favorite, Mr. Toad. Was there any character that you wanted to use but couldn't for any particular reason? A literary character?
I'm trying to think. It's not many Marvel comics where you get Dante's Inferno being a major plot point. I don't think there were. I'm delighted to have used the FF and Willie Lumpkin, and but no, I think that anybody out of copyright was fair game.
Well, it's an excellent book. I encourage everybody to hunt down a copy of it.
Thank you. One of my more neglected children, that one.
Yeah.
So I want to shift gears a little bit, and Paul, I hope you're okay with me asking this. Obviously, the big thing right now in the entertainment industry here in the US, and also it has a very real possibility of impacting Comic-Con, is the WGA strike.
Yep.
As someone who writes TV across the pond,
I'm not going to cross a picket line. I'm only going to have meetings with comics and book people this year if the strike isn't done. And I think we all want the strike to be done, but they're fighting for all of us. They're fighting for every single one of us, not just us freelancers, but the fans too. And I hope the actors and directors join in, because especially the threat of AI, just know, and all power to them. Was that the question?
Yeah. I mean, I basically just wanted your take on it as someone watching it happen. But yeah, I mean,
Doctor Who being a British show, if there is an enormous panel with Ncuti Gatwa, I'm going to be, short of queuing for 24 hours, I will be trying to poke my head in the back to watch. But I would take a meeting with a British show. I would take a meeting with a British show. I don't. Nobody's listening. Is it like a Neil Gaiman thing where if I say it up to one of the great powers, it'll happen to me? But,
manifest it. You got to manifest it. Put it out in the
universe
and make it happen.
Oh, now you put it like that. I don't want to do that.
Oh,
but anyway. Sorry, I do.
That's okay.
Oh.
Tom, does running the comic company, Ahoy Comics, does that impact with the WGA strike or any of the strikes at all, or are you guys completely separate?
We're completely separate. The only thing is there are some TV writers who are less busy than usual, and they might come knock on our door. That would really be about it.
Okay.
I do want to call into question the cleanliness of Doctor Who in this situation, because I think Disney is really staked in it now.
I believe that this is okay. And Russell, if it wasn't, he wouldn't do it.
Oh, Russell, he's doing it. Okay.
Russell T. Davies is back in charge, and he's an immensely ethical man. And
he is so great.
Yeah, I believe Disney is just a distribution deal.
Oh, good. Okay.
So it's a BBC. Well, technically it's a Bad Wolf show, but it's very much a British show.
My nightmare is that Disney's giving notes on it, but I guess they're not.
I don't know. I don't know what the interior of Doctor Who is like these days. But me and Russell, we knock around on Instagram, but
well, I'm a huge admirer.
Yeah. Great man.
Yep.
Pardon my
Well,
ignorant. I was just
Go
going to ask: Is there a British equivalent of the WGA?
Yeah, there's the Writers Guild in Britain. It's not a closed shop, but I think, you know, there is no rule in place to do with my union membership, because I'm in the Society of Authors, another British writers union. There's no rule of my union membership, I think, that would preclude me taking a meeting. I just won't do it. And I think that probably goes for most of the English writers.
Yeah,
Or most union members in general.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Paul, I think we have in fact reached the give out your phone number, except not really portion. So why don't you tell us where our listeners can find your work, and again reiterate where they can get Con and On?
Well, if you go to paulcornell.com, you'll find out everything. I'm on Instagram and, as of today, Blue Sky. And I think that's about it. Oh, and I run the Hammer House of podcast. If you like old Hammer movies, I have a podcast. Tom, do you want to tell them where and how to get Con On?
Yes, at the Funny Book Store on July 11th. We'll do 5 issues in a trade. And
Perfect.
I'm looking forward to people seeing this thing.
And the website is comicsahoy.com, not Ahoy Comics.
Yeah, there was already an ahoycomics.com. Believe it or
check
not.
out anything else, that all the other comics that you guys do.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just saying this, if you want to check out all the other stuff that Ahoy Comics is publishing, head to comicsahoy.com. Right?
Oh, yeah. You desperately want to do that.
And if you need help finding a comic book store, you can always try www.comicshoplocator.com. That can help you. You can put your zip code in, you can find a local comic book store, and they would be very happy, very, very, very happy to order that for you. All 5 issues and the trade.
Perfect.
Yes, Aaron runs a local comic shop, if we can't tell.
Yeah. I am also a comic book retailer, so this is gotta put a plug in for those stores.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. This was really fun, and I'm looking forward to Con and On.
Thank you.
Thank you. All of
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much. It was a great joy to meet you both.
And you. Thank you.
Thanks.
You are muted, James.
I am muted, and we're back.
We're back.
Look
We're
at that.
back.
Wow, that was the first time we've done that. That was a little weird, wasn't it?
It was for us,
Well,
hopefully not for you guys.
Yeah, necessary due to time zones, but
Yep,
we hope
yep.
everyone still enjoyed it. I'm excited for Con and On. I ordered a bunch of them. My orders were due for it as a retailer. Were due a little ways back, but I ordered a bunch.
So are we giving something away?
We are. I do have a couple things to give away. One of them we're going to give away to our Patreon folks, and Carrie will put a post up and we'll draw for someone there. I'd like to find a nice, fair way to give this away on the chat. I'm not sure what the best way to do it is. I know some people were saying last time that there was a little bit of delay. Let me show you what we have to give away. Let's see.
How about you have to tweet the blog, hashtag Con and On, and again, that's Con and On, and whoever does it before I get up tomorrow morning, we will enter you into a drawing. I think that sounds fair.
That sounds fair.
Or should, yes.
Yes. Okay. So the one that we're going to give away to everybody, everyone has a chance to win. Tweet us at SD_comic_con with hashtag Con and On. And that's going to be the Paul's I Walk with Monsters paperback. And you can start tweeting now if you want to. The second item that's just for the Patreon folks, so look for a post from Carrie regarding that, is going to be the Doctor Who 11th Doctor, the archives. And Paul has a contribution in that book.
Awesome.
Okay. And who knows, maybe we'll wait and send it out after July 12th, and then I can stick a copy of Conan on #1 in there.
That could be fun. Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, let's get into the news because we had quite a bit of it. And this week, Erin, what is a big sign that Comic-Con is just around the corner?
So like the biggest sign is that the trolleys have started. One thing we see all the time, all those wrapped trolleys, the first ones have come out. The first 3, I think, we've seen 3 different ones so far. And they were for Paramount Plus, and
Yes.
Paramount Plus.
No,
Solar Opposites.
Solar Opposites is Hulu. Yeah.
Yes,
but
yes.
The first 2, yes, were Paramount Plus. One has like a bunch of Trek stuff. And then the other one has like honestly some real weird shows that I'm like,
it does have like it shows Yellow Jackets. Yeah, it's got Evil on it. There's a whole bunch of the Scream movies on there, SpongeBob SquarePants. It's just like, here's everything that we could possibly offer. So it's
for sure.
It's sort of like the menu of Paramount Plus just exploded onto a trolley. But yeah, so those 3, the latest one, the Solar Opposites one, is really cute. Very, very cute. So we're gonna see more of those. Didn't they do like 30 of them or something? 40.
They did a lot.
There were a ton.
Yeah.
So this is just the beginning. So, but yes, first sign.
So we're gonna have strike talk with Carrie a little bit early this week. I wrote a post based on an article that Deadline did, and then we also got some additional information from the studio. So, as we keep saying every single week, this year at Comic-Con has the potential to look real weird. The writers are currently on strike. SAG could strike if they have, and SAG is currently in negotiations. They have until basically June 30th at midnight to reach an agreement. If they don't, July 1st, they are officially on strike. And SAG confirmed this week that promotional work is struck work. So what that means is, just like what the writers have been saying, like they are not allowed to promote their stuff with studios. So again, that would include San Diego Comic-Con, even for stuff that is already filmed. So there is a potential we could not have actors at Comic-Con. I'm just going to keep saying that. What that means, though, is there's a potential we could not have actors on like studio panels. If like something like Cartoon Voices, where the actors aren't there to promote a specific TV show, they're just kind of there to like talk general industry stuff, like that kind of stuff could still happen. Actors who are there, to promote a comic or a book, that could totally still happen. And none of this is for sure. All TBD by a million other things. The other interesting thing about that Deadline article was that it also mentioned that there is the possibility that there could be a month leeway as far as the promotional rule, which would basically mean like maybe July they could promote stuff. That would certainly work out well for Comic-Con if that comes to be. But TBD, like I said, SAG is currently on a media blackout, so we don't know a whole lot. We don't know how the negotiations are going. We don't know any of that. Also, in all of that news, we learned that HBO is skipping this year. But I did talk to HBO, and they confirmed to me, they said, we don't even know why Deadline phrased it this way. Yes, we will not be at Comic-Con with panels or activations for HBO, but it's because the timing just doesn't make sense, which makes sense. I mean, their big shows like The Last of Us and House of Dragons are a long way away from airing the next season. We also learned, though, that news does not include Max, which is the streaming platform. So it sounds like Max will be there in some capacity. I don't know what they're bringing. I don't know what they're doing, but they've got several possibilities, including the Penguin, which is, in Matt Reeves' The Batman universe, Our Flag Means Death, and the animated Harley Quinn. Those to me are the top 3 that make the most sense for them to bring to the convention. So we will see. Anyway, I will step off my soapbox now.
All right. Next up, we have Star Wars Outlaws, which is a new game coming to consoles and PCs someday soon. But apparently, we're going to get some presentation of some kind, because in a segment with Humberly Gonzalez, who plays Kves, the main character of the game, she said, "Make sure to catch me alongside with some developers and cast members at Comic-Con International in San Diego this July." What does it mean? It means she's going to be there with some developers and cast members. Doing what?
Yeah.
Don't know. I'm going to guess it's probably going to be a panel.
Yeah.
But they may have something at the booth. Who knows if they're going to have anything promoting this at the booth, but this looks like it's going to be a pretty big push from Ubisoft to get this game out there. So looking forward to that.
Yeah. And I promise I will shut up about the strike after this. This is a good example of like something that an actor could still totally show up for, because this video game obviously is not a movie or a TV show, so it's got nothing to do with the strikes. So
That's good to know.
yes,
Keep hope alive.
yes. Aaron,
Our next tidbit of news is that for the very first time, award-winning artist Peach Momoko is going to be heading to Comic-Con. Peach has been at other conventions, never at San Diego Comic-Con. She is one of the hottest variant cover artists, or just cover artists right now. Has her own Marvel series as well. And in the post, she also mentioned that she will have signing hours, remarking hours, and on-site commissions. It doesn't sound like any commissions in advance, but commissions there. No news as of where the booth will be at, but promising other very exciting exclusives. So this is a big get. This is pretty exciting for comic fans. Should be.
totally. If you still need a badge to Comic-Con, the San Diego Comic-Con has opened up their annual eBay auctions. These are official auctions. These are not scalped badges. These are Comic-Con is hosting these. They benefit the Comic-Con Museum. This year, it looks like they're only doing sets of 2-day badges for all 4 days plus preview night. Last year, they did like some single badges instead of pairs. This year, it doesn't look like they're doing that. There are currently, it looks like 26 auctions up right now. They will continue to add auctions all the way basically up to the convention. So keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on the prices. The first ones went for, I think, around $2,500. But again, that's for 2 people. So split that in half per person. But yeah, just keep an eye on that. The prices do definitely fluctuate.
Yeah, that is a lot, but they will go down. I think someone mentioned there was tracking for last year's badges, and they went back up as the con got closer. So that somewhere in the middle of the run, in another couple of weeks, maybe that sweet spot of the lower priced badges, if you're really needing to get them and want to try and get them. Also try and get them at an odd hour. If they started them at weird hours, try and get them at the odd hours, not like right in the middle of the day. Just some tips on getting those things. Also, we have some food options, which some guests from previous year, Sweet Things Frozen Yogurt. They are going to be extending their hours during the convention. The whole week they will be open at 7 a.m. and then depending on the day, they will be staying open anywhere from 10 to midnight. And during Comic-Con itself will be the midnight days. And they're also going to be having some new stuff that they're going to be new food options that they will be promoting and showing off on Instagram. And go and have some yummy stuff.
Yes. Real quick, Committed Comics and the chat asked, "Hey Carrie, since we're talking about badges, when do badges ship?" And you know what? I'm going to answer this because historically they ship this week. So I think it is entirely possible that badges could start arriving like literally any day now. So once they do, you could all stop asking. Funko today showed off their new line of toys, which is called Blockbuster Rewind. And I'm actually going to share my screen for this. if I can.
You can.
I can. Which are these? They look just like old-fashioned VHS tapes. Each one comes with a figure. In this new line, they are going to, this will be available, it looks like, at Fun on the Run, which is their tour kind of around the US. And that tour culminates at San Diego Comic-Con, where, as the article says, they will be releasing the first wave of a dozen or so figures on site. So this is the first figure, and you can see that's the main one. And then there's also a black and white chase. That's all the details we have on that.
And Funko Fun Days on Friday morning was announced to go on sale, went on sale, and sold out. So they are gone. I think they did some giveaways or something last year for some tickets to Fun Days. They may do that again. It sold out in about 20 minutes, I think was how long it took, because it's happening at the Rady Shell, and there's more seats. Plus, they were using their own website and queue it, and they were probably not letting in everybody all at once. So it seemed to go fairly okay.
Okay, so I actually want to talk about this because I've seen a lot of people talk about the fluctuating time, and I was talking to an actual IT professional who was like, I can explain that. And I was like, tell me, because I don't know. And what I was told is basically that the reason the times fluctuate so much is not because people are cutting in front of you, but basically because like the system is set up to, it lets a couple people in, and then it sees like how long they're going to take to check out, and then it adjusts. Okay, so if it's like these people are taking, like 2 minutes to check out, like, okay, we're gonna slow down how many people we let in. If then, they let in more people, and now these people are taking like a minute, they're going to speed up the time. And again, like the time just keeps fluctuating because it's like learning based on how long people are taking to check out, which I thought was really interesting. And I was like, this makes total complete sense to me.
It really does make a lot of sense. Like if someone is just henpecking, putting all their information in, it's going to slow everybody down behind them. It's like being at the checkout line. If you're writing a check, you're going to slow everybody down. This makes a lot. It makes a lot of sense. And it also makes a lot of sense in context for Queue-it for the registration previously too,
Totally.
because that was the same issue that people were having.
Yes, I think this is always an issue with Queue-it. I will say it did feel like it was happening more with Queue-it this time, but I also feel like it may have even been because, there were fewer people in this sale than, trying to get like Taylor Swift tickets or trying to get, a badge. And so it's just like, well, if you've got a smaller sample size, then like results are going to be more all over the place. Right? I mean, that makes sense to me.
No, that does make a lot of sense. I know it doesn't help people feel any better about missing out on things.
The thing is, for sure, the thing is, I know it sucks, but like, this is basically, outside of just getting a badge at all, this is basically the hottest ticket, like at Comic-Con. Like, this is the #1 party, event, whatever that we get asked about. Like, yes, they moved
and
to the
you don't
Shell.
have to be at Comic-Con. You don't have to have a badge. So this could be open to such a 200,000 people.
Yeah, basically just the demand is a lot more than the supply. So I know that it sucks, like, but I promise you, real people got tickets.
Yes.
And I do not think that people were like, once we got into the waiting room, I don't think people were like cutting in front of you. So I just wanted to say my piece on that.
Yeah,
I can see James making a face.
In the comments, Iron Souls says, so when they fluctuate like that, they are telling you the truth, and that upsets people, which is why a lot of queues don't actually tell you the real time. They give you, other words than time for how long you have to wait, coming soon, or your soon-ish in line.
It's almost your turn.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, though, Comic-Con did that for years. Basically, I mean, they used to use that, it's a big like spoon and you're a Cheerio in the bowl and you don't know like when the spoon's gonna scoop you up. I mean, that is a lot of words to explain that, but
also
the same thing.
you did mention something right after the sale finished that we probably should mention, just because it is something that affects a lot of people in how this sale is run. And they announce in the morning that it's going to be between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. Pacific. And then when the time comes and they push the link out, it's using Qt and we all get randomized. It's like, what's the point of that?
I completely agree. I think that was like just a really bad call on their part, honestly. The thing is, look,
do you
like
think that is the randomization wording just standard?
I mean, it's possible. It's possible that the randomization is standard and like the randomization didn't actually happen. But it also just seems like a really odd choice. Like if that's the case, I don't know. But I feel like as Comic-Con attendees, we are all at this point like very used to lotteries, very used to it. And I feel like people would just be much happier if you would just make it a lottery and you would just say, look, like, here's the time. You're going to have, an hour, 30 minutes, whatever, enter the waiting room, and then like, we'll do the sale.
Right. Which is what
then you're not wasting 4 hours of people's time. Yeah, exactly. Which is what you're trying to get at, because that's basically, if you don't get a ticket, your entire like day is wasted because you've spent this whole day like sitting there refreshing. And if it's not based on speed into the form, like what was the point of that? Yeah.
Right. And Iron Souls mentioned that you can't have that many incoming connections at once if you announce a specific time, which is why Comic-Con does it the way they do, where they give you an hour and they have everyone coming into the waiting room over that hour and then randomize. So if they go to a lottery with a randomization, that is the way to do it, is to announce that hour or two of go ahead and join the waiting room, and then we're going to randomize you, and it's going to be a lottery. So good luck. And I think that would be a much better use of people's time. And it would also, whatever segment of the people who want tickets do not like lotteries and prefer to have it all in their own hands, they will be upset with a lottery. All the people who can't waste 4 hours waiting for them to post the link
in the middle of a workday.
Yeah. So yes, exactly. I feel like, totally. Like there's no way to fix the demand versus supply problem. So I feel like the best thing that you could do is at least like not waste 4 hours of someone's time. Yeah. Like if a bunch of people aren't going to get tickets, like don't waste 4 hours of their time. Waste, an hour and a half. Yeah. I mean, that's at least better,
you're absolutely right. The way to create resentment is to make people waste their time and still come out empty-handed.
Yep. Totally.
Anyway. That's we'll get off that soapbox now.
Yes. So let's move on a little bit. The San Diego Blood Bank has opened up making appointments during for their blood drive that takes place at the Manchester Grand Hyatt. And is it a t-shirt that you get? I think that you usually get a thank you gift. It's typically a t-shirt. They have not shown yet what the t-shirt will look like. No convention badge is needed. Like I said, this is over at the Manchester Grand Hyatt. Walk-ins are completely welcome. We've got on our site, we've got links to make appointments for each day.
So on to the exclusives now. Erin, I think you're going to kick us off.
Yes, I super like this one. I'm a big fan of Alex Pardee, and today he put up for pre-order his San Diego Comic-Con 2023 t-shirt. This is his imagining of a logo, his version of it. They're only going to be up until Saturday, July 17th for pre-order. And then they're going to be delivered, as long as you live stateside here, they will be shipped and delivered by the middle of July, so you can wear it to Comic-Con. So sizes are XL, extra small through extra large for $30, and extended sizes are $34. And I'm not sure if he'll have any of these extra ones at the convention or not. These might just be pre-order only. So if you like it, you should definitely get on there and pre-order it.
And there it is. Bet's
It's
computer
just
was
so
having issues,
fun.
but there it is.
It's so wild, isn't it? He's so great. And
really
if anyone
is.
doesn't know or doesn't remember, Alex is the gentleman who designed the really cool t-shirt that James Gunn was wearing last year. That got a lot of press.
Yes, absolutely. And he's just an awesome guy. Like he's just so nice.
He really is. Such a fun guy.
And next up, we have another Entertainment Earth exclusive, a convention exclusive, which is Spider-Man Mary Jane Watson Funko Pop. It'll be $14.99 at booth 2343. And you can get it. You can pre-order it now for shipping after the con based on availability, or pick it up at the show.
Absolutely. Kid Robot, their pre-sales actually launch tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Pacific time. They will do what they've done the last several years, which is they will have 3 days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, where they will have daily allotments available each morning at 9 a.m. They've got a bunch of different fun exclusives for like Mickey Mouse, Hello Kitty, South Park. I really like their hoodie. I think their hoodie is really nice. But we updated our post today with a little bit more information about all of that. So if you want those, 9 a.m. starting tomorrow, they're pre-sales.
And NECA has some updates, including this really cool creature from the Black Lagoon figure that is glow in the dark. That one will be $30, and it's a 7-inch figure. We also have, as you can see there, pictures of the turtles from that Turtles 3 set that we didn't have pictures of the figures, just the box. It's going to be $150. And we also got today the pre-order information, which is Wednesday, June 21st through Friday, June 23rd, starting at 9 a.m. Pacific time. You will be able to pre-order a limited amount of these items with a limit of 2 per item per household. And remember that they will cancel orders if you order more than 2 of something going to the same address. They will cancel your whole order.
Do they do it like, here's a third of them on sale one day, a third the next day, a third the next day, or is it going to be like turtles are this day, creatures this day?
It's daily allotment. So like all the exclusives will be available each day in limited quantities. I do know that in the past the turtles have sold out like really quick. I'm fully expecting those to be obviously the hardest ones to get again this year as well. And I also wanted to mention that for the other Turtles set, the Kino Roy's pizza box one, it's at the bottom of the post. I didn't pop it up to the top, but I added a whole bunch of information about that one today as well, including like price. And I mean, literally all we had before was like photos and like, here's the thing. So there's a lot more information about it now.
Yep. And I think that's about it, but you can pick everything up at their booth. 35.45, but this stuff is only for shipping after the con. There is no ordering to pick up at the booth. It's either order to ship it or try your luck waiting in line.
Yes. Priscilla Wilson has shown off several of her exclusives. This is the last of her toy exclusives. As you can see, there are 3 different sunies and a toratai. The toratai is the tiger cherry tree looking one. That is a Sakura toratai, which is $80. It is limited to just 11 figures. And then the thermal cam sunye, which you can probably guess which one that is if you're looking at this, is going to be $65. That one has 12 pieces, so one more. And then there is a suit up sunye, which has like playing card glitter inside. It's $70, and there are 14 of those. And then there is also a Sakura sunye, which goes with the toratai. That one will be $80. It's limited to 60. And for both the cherry blossom ones, there's like part of a real cherry blossom tree inside, which I think is really cool. But she will be announcing her booth procedures this year tomorrow, actually. So keep an eye out for that.
Those are insane. It's going to be a bloodbath.
I mean, with those quantities, yeah. Like,
those, with
I mean,
those limited quantities are
yeah.
wild. We've got one item from Jada Toys, and this is a Blueberry from the spooky cereal mascots. And it's a glow in the dark Blueberry. It comes with a tiny glowing cereal box, which I just think is so cute. Yeah, I really like this one. No word about pricing on it. Not quite sure of those details. All we know is that they will have it at San Diego Comic-Con
It's cute,
at their
though.
booth. 3744.
Next up, we have more Icon Heroes. A bunch of them actually got released this week, including the G.I. Joe Chaos in the Sea of Lost Souls pin set, which will be $40. The G.I. Joe Cold Slither pins box set, which will be $60. Looks like we have the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers bobbleheads. That will be $80. The Transformers bobbleheads, Optimus and Megatron, will be $90. And the G.I. Joe Red Ninja for $45. And the Snake Eyes cartoon version also for $45. And all of those will be available on their website for shipping right now. Started this morning. Or you can, again, pick them up at the booth at the show, booth 3245.
Yep. Patrick showed off a couple of new prints. Let's start with his John Wick 4 one, which is Hoosier Baby Yaga. That is $27. As you can see, it features a ton of moments from John Wick 4. He also showed off I Got You Kid, which is basically the battle of the Pedro Pascals, and you get to choose which side you want to be on top, whether you want it to be The Last of Us or The Mandalorian. So you can flip the print, which I think is fun. I've actually got an Inception commission of his, which is the same, like you can flip it and it still looks cool. But that one is $30. It's limited to 150 pieces. That one is an actual Comic-Con exclusive, and then the Baby Yaga is just an open edition.
And finally, we have Alex Ross, who will be having his 2023. Actually, let me skip over to that one. The X-Men lithograph, limited to 395 pieces. It's celebrating the 60th anniversary. It is 42.5 inches by 16.25 inches canvas. So there's a lithograph for $395 and a canvas that is $975. And there'll be a limited amount you can get available online. And then he is also going to have his 2023 sketchbook. And while not I think how much is a sketchbook? $50 for an unsigned or $100 signed, and it's a hardcover. The two Batman comics are Batman number 900 variants, with which you can get multiple versions of. It's not a Comic-Con exclusive, but there will be limited amounts of those available at Comic-Con at his booth.
I just wanted to mention, I don't think it's in the post. The pre-order for the X-Men 60th is on June 20th. So if you want that, make sure you hop on that. But that one is gorgeous. We've had plenty of other Comic-Con news, including Nick Kremenek has announced several more of his Project Reforge pieces. We showed off CineQuest exclusives, and they are doing, for my money, the cutest ones they've ever had. I really love their Robin Hood pin. You should go check those out on the site, and you can pre-order those now for shipping or in-booth pickup. Fat Rabbit Farm showed off their first wave of San Diego Comic-Con exclusives, which are 3 pairs of shoes featuring some really cute designs. Those are going to launch for pre-order tomorrow, June 14th at 7 p.m. And then Factory Entertainment also showed off several of their new exclusives, all of which you can pre-order for shipping right now, including a Flash keychain set and a Goonies skeleton key replica, for $100. So super cute stuff.
Plus, there's tons of other news in Under the Tents. Every how is it? Like every couple of days now? There's so much information coming. Plus there's some other stuff all the time on the site. Check it out.
All the time.
We also have a contest hub for any giveaways or contests, such as what they were doing for Fun Days through Funko on the Funko shop online. But if you need to check it out, we have a contest hub on the site.
Absolutely. I do just want to call out real quick on the chat. Xavier Behavior says wife needs the Ballroom 20 Dream House shirt. I'm so glad that you guys like that shirt, but it is not for sale and it is not available. It's just mine. But we will have another shirt that will be available for some giveaways, and we will show that off here relatively soon.
Sometimes we just have good ideas for ourselves.
Yeah. I just
and
wanted
that's
that
for
one.
you. Yes.
Yes. I also
I want to know
mention-
how fast do you think somebody will make a bootleg of that though? I mean, really.
I mean,
What,
I think pretty quick.
if you
I
see
saw
one,
a
if you
couple-
see one there, you have to get a picture.
Yeah, if you see one, send it to me,
Okay.
please.
Okay.
Baby's first bootleg.
Yes.
I did want to mention that our attendee of the week is back. If you would like to be featured, details on how to apply for that is on the site. We feature a new attendee of the week every Friday. We always love reading about your Comic-Con adventures. And then, of course, we also have a Patreon, and we did new tiers this year. There's like a shirt. There's a pen from yesterday's, which is really nice. And then we will be doing our annual Patreon group hangout with all of you here relatively soon. So now is a great time to join if you want to come and ask James and I some questions. I promise we are somewhat fun people. So
Somewhat. We don't promise much, but we promise that we are somewhat fun.
Somewhat. Yes. Super quick in the chat, somebody asked, does it seem like there are less and less offsites announced? Offsites are historically like one of the last things to really be announced. Like offsites are not normally announced until like late June, July, because you just don't need the kind of like build up time that you do on some of this other stuff. So this is totally normal in my opinion. And I think it's going to be a great year for offsites. I mean, we had on MVE last week and they told us that they are working on 4 this year. So
even if that was all there was, that's still like 4 really, probably really high quality offsites.
And that's 4 from one company, and there's
4
more
from
than
one
one company
company,
who does them. So
correct.
And we already know about, the several parties, the Nickelodeon party.
The
I mean, there's
the
we've
XLE
already
parties.
Yes, the XLE parties. Like we know there's
we know there's a Neopets party coming.
Yes, there is a Neopet. They promised us a Neopets party, and they better deliver.
That's right. So there's for sure stuff still coming, guys. I promise you, even though we are only like 36 days away from Comic-Con, there is so much news that happens in like the last
right
3
after
weeks.
4th of July. It's like 4th of
It's
July.
like enough to make me want to like cry just thinking about. But I promise, like this is normal. It all gets dumped at the end.
Yep.
Yes.
All right. So I think that's going to wrap it up for today. Thanks again to Dan from the Marriott for coming on, and for Paul and Tom joining us on a Saturday morning a couple of weeks ago. We are going to be back next week with all the news and exclusives and everything, and a special guest or 2 again, Carrie?
Two, but they're for the same company, so it won't be like this week. We had 2 totally separate ones. We will be joined by Cap Media Group, which they are the folks who put up almost all of the wraps at San Diego Comic-Con. They did everything last year from Petco to the Marriott Marquis, the Omni, they did the Lord of the Rings, they did the Walking Dead elevator wraps. I was looking earlier and I think they in total did like 180,000 square feet of wraps like at last year's Comic-Con, which is insane. So they did quite a few, but we will be joined by Lori Brabant, who is the founder and CEO, and Kelly Reynolds, who is the partner and strategic business development. So really looking forward to talking to them. If you enjoyed our behind the scenes of the inflatable design group, I'm really excited to talk about what goes into putting wraps on a building.
Yeah, I have
So-
so many questions.
I do too.
I want to know everything.
I know. I've warned them. I'm like, look, guys, like we'll talk about the other stuff too, but we really want to like get into the technical parts. Like,
Mhm.
tell us how
What
this works.
glue do you use?
Yes.
How sticky is it? Is there like a stickiness number?
James, don't steal my questions. I was going to suggest those questions. It's literally one of them. I just, how sticky is too sticky? I need to know these things.
Yes.
All right. So that's what's coming next week.
Yes. Should be good. You can sign up for our newsletter, which is, if you are not already signed up, it is at the bottom of our site. Pretty much impossible to miss. Thank you again to our patrons who help keep the lights on, especially this time of year when our hosting bill also makes me want to cry.
So thank you all for joining us. Erin, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
You can find me at Bavarian Erin on Twitter and Instagram. Carrie, where can we find more of you on the internet?
You can find me this time of year basically on the blog Twitter, but if you really want to follow me in the off season, I'm on at Carrie Dixon. James, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
I am everywhere at Dan Riegel, and you can check out geekshotphoto.com for photography links for myself and Beth, my wife, who's also the producer on this show and edits it and does all the slides and all of that kind of stuff. And also I am on a new podcast called The Citizens of Lorcana, covering the Disney trading card game, which if you're into that kind of thing, give it a listen. It's on YouTube and all the other different podcast areas.
We are on iTunes. If you'd like to subscribe, the links are up in the blog, or you can search for SDConCast. If you like what you've heard so far, please review us. We're also on Stitcher Radio and Spotify. The links are in the show notes.
And if you want to get a hold of us, you can send us an email at sdcomiccon.blog@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/sdconblog, or tweet us at sd_comic_con. Thanks everybody for listening, and everybody go
shawarma.
Shawarma.
All right. Where's the door?
Barbie.
Where's the door?